the next question I wanted to ask, and if you don't mind, I'll stay with you for a moment, Cindy, because I think you're well equipped for this one. Is That's actually something you already mentioned. People are eager to help and to do things. We have people who are already socially engaged and volunteering, but you also see a lot of new people that now are taking up the glove and start helping in this response. So why is that in a disaster that people want to, that we see all kinds of, from kids to adults, from students, everyone is trying to do something in this disaster or in this crisis response, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, we're very happy in the volunteer field because we're doing research in how to get people that never volunteer to do volunteer work. And the best answer is create a crisis because it motivates people. And part of that is simply to ease your own discomfort. So it's very highly motivating to be able to do something in a situation where you feel out of control, powerless. And helping each other is a way of regaining control. So it's a very highly motivated circumstances in which people try to help one another. That's also a bit of a negative response because I'm a strong believer of interhuman kindness, warmth. I think it's very, very deep within our genes to care for one another. And crisis kind of brings the focus back on that. So it kind of gets you out of your comfort zone, your routines, your everyday unfocusedness, and it kind of reconnects and resets one another, ourselves. I'm kind of lost for words here, but you refocus, you rethink the priorities in your life.
Yeah, exactly. So you're trying to find a meaning in the role, like where do I fit into this crisis response? What can I do? What is the purpose I could add here? Kees, can I ask you? You've been to a lot of you've seen a lot of crisis response. Is this something unique in this Corona outbreak that we see so many initiatives happening online?
Well, actually, it's not. So I'm completely with Cindy that it can be part of your coping strategy and to show your kindness and that's all true, and it adds up to the empirical evidence, so to say, in crisis and disaster management, that at times of crisis and disasters that can be a sudden onset crisis. I'm still on? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So that can be during a sudden onset crisis, but also what we face now, a more long-lasting crisis, that you see that people are not passive. They are not just victims. They are affected by the crisis and they can feel lonely and devastated, but there is a great willingness to act. And from a crisis management perspective, that's maybe a bit more instrumental, but still, they are a valuable source because they basically are the first responders. They live in the neighborhoods. They have their loved ones and relatives that they connect to, that they offering help to. Physically, but now when where social distancing is important, you can see that they use their own, let's say, online social capital. So it's not. So it came not unexpected for me that there is so much help offered through social media. I was only a bit, curious, so to say, how it would work out in a crisis that starts slowly. 2-3 weeks back in the Netherlands, we had the situation that we are still, sort of uncertain. Is this a real crisis? Will it happen to us? People were laughing about it a little bit, even our politicians, but later on it became more serious. And then over time, you saw those initiatives emerge. But the fact that they came up was not unexpected and actually was a proof of the empirical evidence that people at times of crisis and disasters are offering help to one another.
Yeah. So, Martijn, can I ask you that the fact that these people want to help, what role does like modern technologies play in that? So, I can imagine that with social media, it's easier to find like-minded people to connect, and because it's you don't have to physically go out, especially now. You find and social media also of course creates this environment for you to find like-minded people, and sort of helps to resonate your message with people who might adopt it. So does social media and this digital response help, even pushes that spontaneous volunteering further?
Yeah, I think it all boils down to the fact that in times of crisis we all strive for self-efficacy. So we want to contribute. I'm echoing Cindy's and Case's remarks. So we want to find ways in which we can achieve something, anything that we feel is worthwhile to help the cause. And social media for now is our prime source of that. And so when you think about, okay, how can I prove myself? How can I contribute in any way? That how can I implement that self-efficacy? Find my sources of resilience, sources of capabilities. Then you start using social media, to its full extent, including finding like-minded people or different people, if that's what drives you. It all boils down to what your motivation is. So what, for example, Cindy is very much a believer in the warm heart of people. So she will strive to find media channels to implement that, to find ways to do some of that. Perhaps yourself and myself, we might be more technology oriented, so we might find different things. But that's all okay. It's all part of the finding your position in this field of options. The interesting thing I find about social media is that in discussions like these and in the media itself, we tend to talk about social media as a kind of a gray generic thing, that it's all the same. But if you look carefully, all these platforms and all these initiatives that make use of digital elements, they configure them, they color them in a way that kind of mimics their internal motivation. So it's all about aligning digital opportunities with your own personal motivations. And that links back to what I mentioned before, that self-efficacy. How I want to make myself known or useful or contribute to the bigger cause.
Right.
In that sense, I think the most successful, digital environments are those that allow us to tailor it to what we want to achieve with them. And that's why the more generic ones, like WhatsApps and others, also struggle to kind of cater to specific uses. And that might also be a kind of a incentive for designers and innovators and anyone else who is in the business of designing or providing these tools, is to think about that. How can communities, take our tools and change them in a way that it fully helps them further their cause?
Yeah,
that's interesting, because that intersection between, internal motivation, internal drivers, and the hard cold world of technology, that there's a balance to be found somewhere in between. That's what I noticed.
Okay, so actually, it's an interesting point, because with social media, it's on the one hand you don't want to be too prescriptive and limit people's ability in the platform to do things. So one of the benefits of like Twitter or WhatsApp is you post a message with whatever you want and people can connect to it. And then when you start moving towards organization, you probably need more bespoke platforms to work on it. So I also like the idea that, there's this trade-off between this open environment where people can post whatever they want versus a more structured approach if you really start getting into the operational side of things. And then you see people adapting all kinds of platforms. But I do think that social media at least lowers the threshold for people to start engaging.
Sure.
Right? It's a lot for a lot of people who are, don't have this digital divide. It is a easy way to start fulfilling the self-efficacy of getting involved in something. You can start with writing a message or connect to a message. But I want to jump a bit to the other side of that equation.